Imagine a bright, sunny day. Birds are singing, and a young boy named Miguel is practically buzzing with excitement. He's 15 years old, from Guatemala, and today is a big day. He's heading to the state science competition. Miguel clutched his backpack, a wide smile on his face. Inside was his science project, a special water filter he invented to help clean polluted rivers. It was made from recycled materials and plants. He worked on it for months, and he was so proud. He dreamed of winning, of course, but mostly he wanted to show everyone his idea. He wanted to make a difference. Miguel carefully checked his pocket. His student visa was there, safe and sound. He had followed all the rules to come to America to study, and he was ready for this amazing opportunity. He knew he could do it. Miguel's water filter wasn't just any science project. It was special. He noticed how dirty the river near his grandmother's house had become. People threw trash, and factories dumped waste. The water was no longer safe for drinking or even playing. So, he started experimenting. He used different layers of sand, charcoal, and gravel to filter the water. He added special plants that naturally cleaned the water. It took many tries, and sometimes it didn't work. But Miguel didn't give up. He spent hours researching, reading books, and watching videos. He even asked his science teacher for help. Finally, he created a filter that worked. It turned dirty, murky water into clean, clear water. It was a small thing, but Miguel knew it could make a big difference. Getting the student visa wasn't easy. Miguel had to fill out many forms and answer lots of questions. He had to prove he was a good student and that he would follow all the rules. He had to show that he had a place to stay and that he could pay for his school. His host family, the Johnsons, were so kind. They helped him with the application and made him feel welcome. They even learned a few words in Spanish to talk to him. Miguel was so grateful for their support. The visa meant everything to him. It was his chance to learn, to grow, and to share his ideas with the world. It was proof that he belonged here, that he had a right to be here, pursuing his dreams. He kept it safe, tucked inside his wallet, a symbol of his hard work and his bright future. The Greyhound bus station was bustling with people. Some were saying goodbye to loved ones. Others were rushing to catch their bus. Miguel found a seat near the window. He liked watching the world go by. He settled in, adjusting his backpack and pulling out a notebook. He wanted to review his presentation one last time. He flipped through the pages, practicing his speech in his head. He imagined standing on the stage, explaining his water filter to the judges. He pictured their faces, impressed by his invention. He smiled to himself. He was ready. This bus ride was the last leg of his journey, the final step before achieving his dream. He closed his eyes, excitement bubbling inside him. He couldn't wait. The bus had been traveling for a few hours when it suddenly pulled over. Everyone looked around, confused. An announcement crackled over the speakers. Routine check. Please remain seated. Two men in dark uniforms boarded the bus. They were ICE agents. A hush fell over the passengers. Miguel felt a knot form in his stomach. He'd seen them on TV, but he never thought they would stop his bus. The agents began walking down the aisle, asking people for their identification. Some passengers nervously pulled out their wallets and purses. Miguel took a deep breath and reached for his wallet. He knew he had nothing to worry about. He had his visa, but still, a tiny seed of unease began to grow. Something didn't feel right. The ICE agent stopped in front of Miguel. He looked down at him, his face stern. "Your documents, please," he said, his voice cold. Miguel's heart pounded in his chest, but he tried to remain calm. He reached into his wallet and carefully pulled out his student visa. He handed it to the agent, his hands slightly trembling. "Here you go, sir," he said politely. The agent took the visa and examined it closely. He squinted his eyes and looked back at Miguel, then back at the visa again. He seemed to be searching for something. Miguel watched him, his anxiety growing with each passing second. Why was the agent taking so long? He had done nothing wrong. He had his visa. Everything was in order. Right. Finally, the agent spoke. "This name, Miguel Rodriguez. It matches someone on a watch list." Miguel's blood ran cold. But I have a visa," he stammered, pointing to the document in the agent's hand. "It's right there. I'm here to study. I'm going to a science competition. The agent wasn't listening. I'm going to need you to step off the bus, sir, he said, his voice firm. We need to ask you some more questions. Miguel's mind raced. This couldn't be happening. He had done everything right. Why was he being treated like a criminal? He looked around at the other passengers, their faces a mixture of fear and pity. No one said a word. He felt utterly alone. Tears welled up in Miguel's eyes, but he tried to blink them away. Please, sir, there must be a mistake, he pleaded. I have my school information. I can call my host family. They can explain everything. His voice trembled as he spoke. He felt a lump in his throat, making it hard to breathe. He couldn't understand why this was happening to him. He wasn't a criminal. He was just a kid with a dream. The agent remained unmoved. He gestured towards the front of the bus. Now, sir, he said, his voice leaving no room for argument. Let's go. Miguel knew he had no choice. He grabbed his backpack, his hands shaking, and followed the agent off the bus, leaving his dreams of the science competition behind. The bus doors closed with a hiss, and he watched as it drove away, disappearing down the highway. He was stranded. The agent led Miguel into a small, gray room inside the bus station. It smelled like old coffee and stale cigarettes. There were a few chairs and a metal table. The room felt cold and unwelcoming. Sit down, the agent said, pointing to a chair. Miguel sat, clutching his backpack tightly. He felt like he was in a bad dream. Another agent came into the room. He started asking Miguel questions. His name, his age, where he was born, why he was in the United States. Miguel answered them all truthfully, his voice shaking. He told them about his school, his host family, and the science competition. But the agents didn't seem to believe him. They kept repeating the same questions, as if trying to catch him in a lie. Miguel felt trapped and helpless. He just wanted to go to his competition. After what felt like hours, the agents told Miguel he would have to stay there until they could sort things out. They took him to a different room, a large holding area with rows of metal benches. Other people were sitting there, looking lost and worried. The room was noisy and chaotic. Babies were crying, and people were talking in different languages. Miguel felt overwhelmed. He missed the quiet of the bus, the anticipation of the competition. He was told he couldn't have his phone. He couldn't call the Johnsons or his school. He felt completely cut off from the world. His backpack, with his precious water filter and presentation, was placed on a shelf across the room, out of his reach. He felt like a prisoner. The science competition felt like a distant dream now. Miguel tried to ask an agent if he could make a phone call, but he was ignored. He walked over to another agent, standing near the door. "Excuse me, sir," he said politely. "Could I please call my host family? They're probably worried about me." The agent didn't even look at him. "You'll have to wait," he said gruffly. "We're busy." Miguel persisted. "But sir, I have a science competition." The agent cut him off. "I said wait," he snapped. "You're not the only one here." Tears streamed down Miguel's face. He felt so helpless and alone. He didn't know what to do. He walked back to the metal bench and sat down, burying his face in his hands. The noise and chaos of the holding area seemed to close in around him, suffocating him. He was completely alone. Miguel remembered the late nights he spent in the school library, surrounded by books and diagrams. He pictured himself carefully measuring chemicals, meticulously building his water filter, testing and retesting it until it was perfect. He recalled the encouraging words of his science teacher, Mrs. Evans, who believed in him and his project. "This could really make a difference, Miguel," she had said. "You have a gift." He thought of his grandmother back in Guatemala, who inspired him to care about the environment. He wanted to make her proud. He wanted to show the world that even a small idea could have a big impact. Now, all of that seemed so far away. The science competition, his teacher's encouragement, his grandmother's pride, all of it was slipping away with each passing moment in this cold, impersonal room. He had worked so hard. It wasn't fair. Suddenly, a gentle hand touched his shoulder. Miguel looked up and saw a woman with kind eyes and a warm smile. She was sitting next to him on the bench. "Are you okay, Mijo?" she asked softly. "You look so sad." Miguel hesitated for a moment, then poured out his story. He told her about his visa, the science competition, and how he had been wrongly detained. The woman listened patiently, nodding occasionally. When he finished, she squeezed his hand. "I know it's scary," she said, "but don't give up hope. Sometimes these things happen. You have to be strong and keep fighting for what's right." She told him her own story of coming to America and the challenges she faced. Her words were comforting, and Miguel felt a glimmer of hope return. He wasn't completely alone after all. As Miguel and the woman were talking, he overheard two ICE agents speaking nearby. They were looking at a computer screen and talking about the Miguel Rodriguez they were searching for. "This guy's a real problem," one agent said. "Been dodging us for years." "Yeah, well, he's not going to get away this time," the other agent replied. "We've got a solid lead." Then Miguel heard something that made his ears perk up. "Says here he's around 50 years old," one agent said. 50 years old? Miguel was only 15. He suddenly realized what had happened. It was a case of mistaken identity. They were after someone with the same name, but much older. This was his chance. He had to tell them. Miguel stood up, his heart pounding. He walked towards the agents, his voice trembling but determined. "Excuse me, sirs," he called out. "I think there's been a mistake." The agents looked up, annoyed. "What is it, kid?" one of them asked. "I heard you talking about the Miguel Rodriguez you're looking for," Miguel said. "You said he's 50 years old. I'm only 15. It's not me. It's a mistake." He pointed to his student visa. "I have a visa. I'm here to study. I'm going to a science competition. Please, you have to believe me." The agents exchanged glances. For the first time, they seemed to be listening. Maybe, just maybe, he had a chance. The woman he was speaking with gave him an encouraging smile. He was ready to advocate for himself. One of the agents, a younger man with a kind face, looked at Miguel's visa again, then back at the computer screen. He frowned. "Wait a minute," he said. "This kid's right. The birth date on this visa doesn't match the one we have on file." He called over another agent, a woman with glasses. They huddled together, whispering and pointing at the screen. Miguel watched them anxiously, his heart pounding in his chest. Finally, the woman looked up. "Okay," she said to Miguel. "It looks like there was a mix-up. Our apologies. There's someone with the same name, but he's much older. It seems our system didn't flag the age difference." She sighed, shaking her head. "Poor record-keeping," she muttered. "It's always the same problem." Miguel felt a wave of relief wash over him. They believed him. It was finally over. The younger agent, the one with the kind face, smiled gently. "We'll get you out of here right away," he said. "Let me get your belongings." He walked over to the shelf and retrieved Miguel's backpack. He handed it to him with a sincere apology. "I'm really sorry for the inconvenience," he said. "I hope this doesn't ruin your trip." The woman agent unlocked the door to the holding area. "You're free to go," she said. Miguel couldn't believe it. He was finally being released. He thanked the agents, especially the kind one, and hurried out of the room, eager to escape the cold and impersonal atmosphere of the bus station. He was free, but he still had a big problem. He had missed the science competition. As Miguel stepped outside, he saw Mrs. Johnson, his host mom, running towards him, her face etched with worry. She wrapped him in a tight hug. "Miguel. Oh, Miguel. We were so worried. We called everyone." Mr. Johnson was right behind her. "Are you okay, son? What happened?" Miguel explained everything. The bus stop, the ICE agents, the mistaken identity, the detention. The Johnsons listened in disbelief, their faces filled with anger and concern. "We're so sorry you had to go through that, Miguel," Mrs. Johnson said, her voice trembling. "It's not right." Miguel looked down at his feet, his shoulders slumped. "I missed the competition," he said quietly. "All that work for nothing." Mrs. Johnson pulled him close again. "It's not for nothing, Miguel," she said firmly. "Your project is amazing, and we're going to make sure everyone knows it." The next day, Miguel's school held a special assembly. Mrs. Evans, his science teacher, stood on the stage and told everyone what had happened to Miguel. The students gasped in shock and outrage. Then, Mrs. Evans introduced Miguel. He walked onto the stage, a little nervous but also proud. He showed everyone his water filter and explained how it worked. The students were amazed. They cheered and applauded, giving him a standing ovation. The principal announced that the school would be sending Miguel's project to a national science competition. The local newspaper wrote a story about Miguel and his invention. People from all over the town called to congratulate him. Even the governor heard about Miguel and invited him to visit the state capital. Despite everything that had happened, Miguel's dream was still coming true. He was getting his chance to make a difference. Even though Miguel was excited about the national competition and the governor's invitation, he couldn't forget what had happened at the bus station. He knew that other people without visas or kind host families, might not be so lucky. He decided to use his newfound platform to speak out. He gave interviews to newspapers and TV stations, telling his story and calling for fair treatment of immigrants. He talked about the importance of seeing people as individuals, not just names on a list. He reminded everyone that even a small act of kindness can make a big difference. Miguel's words resonated with people across the country. He became a symbol of hope and resilience, inspiring others to stand up for what's right. He was determined to make sure that what happened to him wouldn't happen to anyone else. He was determined to make a difference. The school even started a scholarship fund in Miguel's name to help other students from Guatemala come to America to study. The Johnsons opened their home to more international students, creating a welcoming and supportive environment for young people from all over the world. The kind woman Miguel met in the detention center reached out to him. They became friends, and she helped him understand the challenges faced by many immigrants in America. Miguel never forgot his experience at the bus station. It shaped him into a more compassionate and determined person. He learned that even when bad things happen, it's possible to turn them into something good. He also learned the importance of kindness, perseverance, and speaking out against injustice. He was ready to help change the world. Miguel learned that even when people are treated unfairly, it's important to stay strong and never give up on your dreams. He understood that his voice mattered and that he could use it to help others. He also learned that kindness can come from unexpected places, like the woman in the detention center and the ICE agent with the kind face. These people showed him that not everyone is prejudiced and that there is always hope for a better future. Most importantly, Miguel learned the value of his culture and his heritage. He realized that being from Guatemala was something to be proud of and that his experiences had given him a unique perspective on the world. He would continue to advocate for justice. Years later, Miguel became a successful environmental engineer. He traveled the world, helping communities clean their water and protect their natural resources. He never forgot the lessons he learned during his time in America. He always remembered the importance of kindness, perseverance, and standing up for what's right. And every time he faced a challenge, he thought back to that day at the bus station. He remembered the fear, the frustration, and the feeling of helplessness. But he also remembered the kindness of the woman in the detention center and the support of his host family and community. These memories gave him the strength to keep going, to keep fighting for a better world. He knew that even one person could make a difference. He knew it because he had lived it. His life was dedicated to helping others. And sometimes, when he was working in a remote village or a bustling city, he would meet other young people with dreams, just like he had. He would share his story with them, encouraging them to never give up, no matter what obstacles they faced. He would tell them that even when things seemed impossible, they could always find a way to make a difference. He would remind them that they were not alone, that there were people who cared about them and believed in them. And he would tell them that the world needed their ideas, their talents, and their passion. Because Miguel knew, from his own experience, that the world is a better place when everyone has the opportunity to pursue their dreams. He knew that everyone has something special to offer, and it was important to never give up on those dreams. He was ready to make a difference in their lives.